Or, or is that just the way they're presenting the instruction? How is that working? What is working and what is not working? And really, as far as the school board goes, we're not hearing that from anyone. We read it on Facebook, but we don't hear it from people because they're not at the meetings asking those questions when they're doing things. We're having like year-end meetings and everything's being presented. No one's there. And so I think we really need people to have their voice known in person and ask those tough questions. We have very few people that come and ask those tough questions. And I think it's very necessary to do so. And I think right now that's not happening in the community. And I think we need that kind of person-to-person sense of really hard conversations about what's right and what's wrong. And we can't do that without people.
To begin with, I think that we do as a district offer quite a few things for our communities to be involved in, from open houses, even at the high school level. I know they brought food trucks to try to engage more people to come to our open houses. We've had, the different things at the middle school level, the elementary school levels, and especially, I attended a basketball game here a few weeks ago that was part of the Jake Dewar Kindness Event, and I couldn't find a seat. So I know as a community, our community does come out when they want to. They're here. But I think bridging that gap between getting our community involved with our students, especially in the middle and the high school level, I think that sometimes we need to do a better job of connecting our parents to what our kids are doing in the school system every day. There is sometimes in the elementary school, I think it's just what the teachers do. They're emailing all the time, they're communicating all the time, and that ownership slowly starts to be put on more on the student versus the kids, but they're still kids. And making sure that our families are actively engaged in what they're doing in the middle and the high school level, I think would be important. I also think that we could do a better job of maybe advertising what we have to offer in our school. This school provides a lot of opportunities for our students, all different types of clubs, not just sporting events. We have many, many extracurriculars, more extracurriculars than some neighboring towns even offer. And I'm not sure that everybody in our community even knows all of the things that are happening here, the wonderful things that are happening here. I think it is also a parent's responsibility to be really present in their children's lives, asking those hard questions of their kids and knowing what's going on in their lives every day. I went to an internet safety presentation at the middle school just a couple weeks ago, and there were less than 10 of us there in the audience, and it's a huge part of our kids' lives right now. So when we are offering those opportunities, I would love to see more family involvement in being present at those types of things. We can offer them, but we need people to show up for them as well. So as a school board member, I would like to continue to offer those things, look for more opportunities to offer those things, but I would love to hear from our community. If you have suggestions, we are all ears. We would love to know how we can make this better. We would love to know what we can do to improve, and not just when there's fires, because sometimes that's when we hear about things, when the fire is happening and we had no lead time to try to fix it. So we are absolutely open to listening and hearing concerns, and you can email any one of us or start with our, the teacher level before you head to the administrators and all the way up. But if you're not getting that communication, please, we are here to help you.
I am also going to talk about communication. I feel strongly that communication leads to connection. And there's a lot of valuable information that is presented on the school's websites, on the SAU website and everything, but it's not exactly easy to find. So Canterbury and Belmont are both very small, very involved communities, but if people aren't aware of where to go to look for these opportunities, to look for these chances to volunteer, I don't know how they're going to volunteer, to be a part of it, and that's huge. I am a parent with students in the district, so I am present at the school, and I do communicate with the teachers. I communicate with the principal. I think I've been to the school, I don't even know how many times this year already. But I'm only one person, and I think that, you know, the communication can go both ways, but all of the SAU meetings are only posted on the website. So you have to know where to go to look for them. And people who don't necessarily have children or grandchildren or, you know, anyone in the district won't necessarily know. Thank you.
I don't think there's any one right answer for community involvement or parent involvement, but there's a lot of opportunities out there. I've been in districts that offered a program called Strengthening Families, and you know that Strengthening Families program. You have kids that don't really know how to be kids, and you have parents that sometimes don't know how to be parents, and that type of a program teaches that, as odd and as weird as it sounds. You know, so we had to somewhat bribe you know, parents and community member, you know, involvement on things like that. I've seen in districts where they get some of the retired community members in to teach things like finance, and to teach things like you know, balancing your checkbook, and to teach about debt, and you know, how, you know, buying a car, what does that mean, and interest rates. That's kind of where I was talking about. The schools can't teach everything. They can provide the space, they can provide the, you know, the means, but we can't staff it all. I had once when I was in my master's program where I was told to basically find a problem in a school and figure out a way to fix it. And the problem that I identified was tardiness. We had students that were just habitually tardy every single day. And we actually had an attendance policy that if they hit, I believe it was 6 tardies, it was a 2-hour detention on Saturday, 7 tardies was a 4-hour, and if you hit your 8th tardy, you lost credit for the class. And what we proposed and what we tried was if students were reaching the 2-hour detention or the 4-hour detention, the expectation was the parent came with them. And talk about dropping your tardies, going from, you know, 15 or 20 a day to virtually 0. But that was something that was supported by the community. It was not well received by the students and the parents who had to come in on a Saturday, but let me tell you that the problem got fixed fairly quickly. I've suggested for years on progress reports and on report cards. We can keep track of parent attendance to the different types of things, whether it's open house, whether it's the community events at the school. Don't grade them, but have an area there that's, you know, that's showing their participation and their attendance. Is it a little bit of guilt, you know, to get people there? Yeah, maybe, but if it works, it works. There's, you know, what we're doing right now is I think is more of a status quo than anything. I'm one of those people that, you know, if there's a problem, let's try a solution. If it doesn't work, well, we'll abandon it and we'll try something else. But you know, just talking about discussing the problem rarely comes to a positive outcome unless you try things.
So same, like communication is hard, but the reality is we're probably not going to get a whole lot of parents to come out unless they want change, like me, and voters to come out unless we have a lot of people that don't have children in this town that don't believe they should have to pay a school tax. I do think that we need to make it easier to be able to tell when the meetings are. I had a difficult time finding when meetings were. Maybe text messages, maybe more on social media. I know Belmont did they have a Facebook or an Instagram? Okay, like maybe putting more out there, because I guess I just don't get notifications of it. But I do when there's a delay or the school's not opening because of a snowstorm. maybe we could get permission from some people to go text messages, surveys, hand out surveys to people, put them on, give them out at the town hall. You know, what would you like to see changed if you're having a problem with something? I think you're gonna get more input that way than people showing up for these, because they're just not gonna come. There's just not gonna be a whole lot of outpouring of community support in ways that we wish that there was. But maybe we can find other ways to reach people, like through social media, through surveys, through, I don't know. There's gotta be other ways.
So our final question for school board candidates is, what do you feel are the main points of emphasis that our school board should focus on in order to progress the district as a whole in the next 3 to 5 years?
At this point, we have spoken about this at recent meetings. We need to look at everything. We need to look at the reading program. We need to look at the math program. We have to have real conversations about meaningful instruction and how that instruction is being driven. We may need to look at, I've heard, again, this is just from speaking with parents, but there's been a lot of concern about the overuse of the Chromebook for presenting content or assessing mastery of content. And I think that's things I would like to hear more about from the teachers and more from the parents. I think we need to take a look at how special education is being implemented in the district and take a look at why it's not as successful as it could be right now, and what can be done differently to provide the scaffolding and the supports that those students need, because it seems that right now what we're doing isn't working. And I would like to have, like I said, I would like to be a part of those discussions. I think they are necessary, and this is, from the last meeting, this is what we were talking about. This is where we need to go. We need to see where the kids are and start to put in supports to move them forward.
I guess one of the goals I would like to see happen is definitely looking at student achievement and seeing where we can move forward, how we can progress. Looking at the data that's coming out of our schools, where our kids are, how do we move them further along the right track. I think we could do a better job, obviously, with partnering with families, supporting families, and bridging that gap between families and students. And I'd also like to see us looking at ways to help our high school students feel better prepared to leave and enter the workforce or the college education, wherever they're off to. I think that we need to prepare these students as they are leaving and becoming independent adults, and we can definitely do a better job of that. Also, I think that we need to look at attracting highly qualified teachers in our district, and how do we go about doing that? We need to make sure that we have a school that teachers want to come to and they want to stay in. We also have some quality staff already in our district, and how do we keep them here? With the teacher shortage, teachers have more opportunities to leave and go other places now than they ever have had that chance before. So we want to make sure that the teachers that we do have are staying in our district. And our real focus, we're all here for our students, our kids. We want the best for our kids. And so I want to make sure that what we're offering here for our students is the best that we can provide with what we have to offer them.
Belmont and Canterbury are small communities, and our schools reflect that. They're small schools. And like Calvin and Scott had kind of talked about in the select board conversations, Canterbury is primed for growth. There are a couple of initiatives that would place, I believe it's 140 housing units in Canterbury. That's a huge population increase. And I think that one of the things that the school board really needs to prepare itself for is, are our schools prepared to accommodate 140 households? If half of those households have students, have a single student, are our schools all prepared to absorb 70 students? What if they have multiple students? Can we accommodate that? That's something that I think is on the horizon and is imminent, honestly, and needs to be addressed. Another thing that I think is important is that we have tools in place to prepare our students for real-world experiences. And what I mean by that is that our current graduation requirement for, or only include a quarter credit for personal finance. If students choose to go to college, there's a likelihood of debt, like student loans. People carry massive amounts of consumer debt and just don't realize the true cost of borrowing. Taking into account current economic state, this instruction could prove extremely important for our students. So I think that that's something that should probably be addressed.
So, as far as main points and moving forward, I mean, I see an overall climate problem within the school district. And in my opinion, how you solve that climate problem is, first and foremost, I'm in complete disagreement of the competency-based assessment, the whole grading 1, 2, 3, 4 versus the Carnegie grading system. I have worked with schools, I've been within schools and helped 3 of them actually get to competency-based assessment, and it was the same struggle every single time. And there's been mandates by the state that says it will be done by 2008, and then it will be done by 2011, and it will be done by 2015, and we still have a bunch of schools within the state that do not run the competency-based assessment. A lot of people like to say, well, they're not going to give us they're not going to give us the funding. Well, they don't give us much funding anyway. So I firmly believe that we need to abandon that. We need to be involved in the curriculum, and I don't remember who right here said that. I completely agree. I have to take some ownership that I have not been involved in the decision-making of the curriculum and being involved in school board meetings, but I am involved with my kids' education, what's being presented to them, what's being asked of them. I struggle with the amount of technology use after we've exited COVID. I brought that up at the budget hearing. I feel that technology is being used as a crutch. So many students don't respond well to technology teaching them. They respond much better to direct instruction, and I have no idea why we didn't return to direct instruction in large part within the classrooms. Figuring out things like the state doesn't support an attendance policy. The state kind of says, we don't think that that's too much of a concern. It doesn't mean that a district can't have a district-wide attendance policy, behavior policies, and then have all the schools run by the same set of expectations and the same set of rules. You can't have, and I'm not saying that this exists, but you can't say that no cell phones are allowed in the middle school and then allow phones at the high school. And again, I'm not saying that exists here. I'm just using that as an example. Attendance is so important to schools and to the students that are attending those schools. As much as kids don't like repetition, you learn by repetition. I'm going through that with my daughter, who is fairly advanced with math, and she's doing VLAX. And VLAX offers little to no repetition. Once they go through it two or three times, it's done, and then it comes back a week later or 2 weeks later, and it's like it's brand new material again. And it's because the repetition is lacking. And that's where I come back to what I was talking about before with the foundation of skills. Once you have that foundation of skills, you can take that ball and you can take it anywhere. And you can run with it, or you can leave it behind, because I mean, every student can't, is not going to be wildly successful, but we hope that most of them are. Yeah, figuring out the overall climate. I think the school board should take a look at what placements are. Placements within faculty, within the different schools. I think the school board should take a long, hard look at some of the behaviors that exist within the district and should, consider using different out-of-district placements. I know they're expensive. They're wildly expensive. But when you look at what the cost of that is versus the improvement of the climate that's within the building, it could be worth it. You have, and one thing that I know of with the school that my wife works at, if you support your faculty and you support them in classroom management, you support them in curriculum, you support them in the direct instruction, you support them with behaviors that exist within the classroom, teachers don't worry about the money. They don't worry near as much about the salary when they can come to work and they can enjoy the teaching and they can enjoy the direct instruction. When they want to talk about money all the time, it's because the climate of your building isn't that good. So I feel you solve the climate problem, which is a big 30,000 feet topic, but you solve that and a lot of the other problems start to go away.
I think our biggest asset is going to be our students, like our kids. Like, I know the parents might not come to these meetings, but the kids that go to this school are going to be our biggest educators, and the teachers that teach here are going to be our biggest educators. The people that are outside of these walls don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on unless my daughter tells me, unless I have a client sitting in my chair that's telling me about their struggles, and their mother telling me about their struggles. The biggest people that can help make this school better are the ones that are in it. And I think we need to utilize that asset. I think we need to talk to these kids and figure out, do you guys like the grading system? How do you guys feel about this particular teacher? How do you guys, what would you change? How would you make it better? Because they're smarter than we give them credit for.
All right, so our last question for this evening is for our moderator candidates, and that is, what qualities do you think that you have would make you a great moderator?
Well, thank you. I've been involved in running for a lot of meetings and hearings and stuff like that. And I find it's a good idea to listen twice as much as you talk. And then you can help people. As a moderator, you facilitate that discussion and you do it, and I think Bill Wright said it, you give them the rules, you follow by the rules, you treat everybody fairly and consistently as you conduct the business before you. And I've done a lot of that, and I think I could do that for the school district. Thank you.